Шановні колеги, ми продовжуємо.
Dear colleagues, we continue our working day. Now I give the floor to Presidential Administration spokesman on ATO-related issues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Now the information about the events that happened in the ATO area during the last 24 hours and about the training of Ukrainian armed forces. In Lugansk area, during the last 24 hours, the enemy violated ceasefire at several parts of front line in Stanitsa-Lugansk region and near Popasna. The majority of shellings were delivered during dark hours. The situation was tense in Stanitsa-Luganska, where the enemy acted aggressively. Ukrainian troops were forced to return fire. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in Lugansk area, there were 10 enemy shellings, including 3 mortar shelling. These were in Stanitsa-Luganska, Popasna, and Troitske. About half of all shellings from the militants in Donetsk direction were in Avdiivka production area. There, the military actions continue for 24 hours. Traditionally, the militants attack from the east, Yasenovata, Yakovlevka, and actively use mortars of different calibers. Also, heavy mortar shelling delivered by the militants was to the north in Novoselivka Druga village. During the hour, the enemy launched 40 mines at Ukrainian positions. Also, during the last 24 hours, the situation was tense at Svetlodarska Balch, this is Gorlovka, Opetnopiski, and in Zaitseva, there was full lull. According to the information of the intelligence service, in the center of Donetsk, the militants deployed a new Russian complex of radioactive fighter Shipovnik Aero. And on the whole, in the Donetsk area, there were 30 enemy shellings, 8 with the use of heavy weapons. In Mariupol area, in the evening, between 8 till 9 p.m., our positions in Marienka were attacked by subversive group, up to 10 people. The militants approached within the grenade range and opened fire with small arms and the barrel grenade launchers at our positions. Ukrainian servicemen also used small arms and repelled the enemy, and they forced the enemy to retreat. Due to professional actions of our military forces, the subversive group retreated. So our officers who repelled the attack are Axim, Sava, Sergeant Gotsman, Junior Sergeant Vishnya, and soldier with the nickname of Litva, Medmax, and Kapelan. Also in Krasnogorivka and Shirokina, the militants repeatedly used mortars and tanks, and these were the attacks in the dark hours. In Shirokina, from one, they delivered shelling within 1 hour. They launched 70 mines at our positions, and also other provocations of the enemy are delivered in different part of front line. In Mariupol area, there were 26 shellings, including 6 heavy, with the use of heavy weapons. These are mortars and tanks. During the last 24 hours, as a result of the military actions, 1 Ukrainian serviceman was killed and 2 were wounded. These losses were sustained by Ukrainian armed forces in the course of military clash near Marienka. We express deep condolences to the relatives and loved ones of the servicemen who died. The losses of the enemy during the last 24 hours, 3 killed and 7 wounded. And in the attempt to detain deserters from so-called 11th Detached Motorized Regiment of Russian occupation forces, 1 was killed and 2 wounded from the National Guard of Russia, who carry out their duties In the barrier squad between Avdiivka and Yasinuvata, we know that these squads of the enemy sustained heavy losses there and tried to flee from the front line. That's why Russian commanders took the decision to introduce to this area their barrier squads. 2 days ago, the militants of so-called 7th Detached Motorized Brigade of the enemy, while being under the influence of alcohol, they robbed and then shot dead the resident of Komsomolsky, Svetlodarsk City Council, Lugansk Oblast. The military intelligence identified them as Taras Teretyakov, Alexander Kulagin, and Sergei Chirkin. The commanders of Russian occupation forces fired these militants, and they tried to hide their involvement into this crime. Ukrainian special services detained the militant nicknamed Pes, the dog. And the detained is the member of Vostok Battalion who for several months in 2014 served at the buildings of SBU and National Guard in Donetsk that were seized and fought against ATO forces in the region of Donetsk airport. And then he left this gang, and then he was hiding in Zaporizhia, where our law enforcers found him. During the last 24 hours, the police officers of Toretsk detained 2 more militants, and on the second anniversary of liberation of the city, the officers detained 2 more local residents who in 2014 served at enemy checkpoints. Then these militants were trying to hide, but they were detained. And at the same time, one former militant returned to peaceful life, and he is ready to cooperate with Ukrainian law enforcers. The resident of Lugansk Oblast joined the militants of LPR in 2014. And he got information about SBU program that is called They Wait For You Back Home. He voluntarily addressed SBU, and now former militant can expect the exemption from criminal responsibility. Armed forces of Ukraine and ally armies, they continue joint training. Servicemen of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the United States, Georgia, and Moldova demonstrated their military skills in the course of multinational training Sea Breeze 2016. First, Moldovan troops repelled the attack of the imaginary enemy on patrol and then launched a counterattack. Then Georgian servicemen showed how they evacuate wounded servicemen and how to provide first-aid medical aid. And the most spectacular were the training of Ukrainian Marines who took hostage the imaginary enemy commander and evacuated them to the rear. And they used helicopter Mi-8 and 1 more helicopter of the armed forces as the sanitary vehicles. So while carrying out these tasks, the Marines they landed without parachute with the help of adapter M1 system, and remind you that the system is gradually introduced in different types of troops, and this landing was implemented by the Marines. So, and also they were training to defend military airdromes. This training is delivered in Konstantinovka, Khmelnytska Oblast. The servicemen were trained how to detain, to disarm, and to convoy the perpetrators to the perimeter of the airport. And in the firing ground in Nikolsky region and Donetchina, police officers were trained. Special forces specialists were trained how to defend civilians, how to neutralize armed groups of criminals who seized the buildings. So they were trained in counteracting subversive groups, and one woman sniper also took part in this training. National Guard conducted training in Mariupol, and communication officers were trained in the conditions of radio-electronic struggle, and the command of communication officers showed professionalism and morale, And they met the norms and they established good results. So the Russian side unilaterally created 54th humanitarian convoy consisting of 54 vehicles, and these trucks were loaded for 35%. Also from Russia they brought assistance to the militants to Kharkiv station. They brought 2 tanks of diesel fuel, 4 armored vehicles, and 4 trucks, and 2 repair facilities. So, do you have questions? Do you have questions? If there are no, thank you. So, thank you, dear colleagues. Our next press briefing is at 1 p.m. sharp.